Wow, guys. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
The verdict is in.
Well,
it was
big
sort of
night.
weird. What a big,
Very
weird, really weird watching it on CNN.
We thought, actually, you guys, we know you guys would be wanting to talk about. We always do these impromptu lives for big news stories because you just have that need, don't you, to share it. Everyone has been so invested in this quest for justice.
It was almost a tentpole moment at the beginning of COVID, wasn't it? I mean, it all happened in COVID. It was a bizarre, the whole Black Lives Matter movement and everything. Sorry, we just pulled ourselves together.
It's
cold. It's sort of tied into the trauma, the sort of collective trauma of the last 12 months. But Madge Maud is asking the question you were just asking, which is how can you have three different guilty verdicts for
does
one
anyone
murder?
know? Is there anyone American here that knows the system? And each one of those holds 40 years, 25 years, 25 years.
So he could go, maximum
well, he won't
90.
be getting out. He won't be getting out.
So it was unanimous. Reese Roberts, as black people, we can breathe.
Well, I mean, for now, but there's still so many other cases, isn't there? I mean, that's what they're saying straight away. And it's like, I love that guy on CNN. I don't know his name. He said, he's actually enraged. He said, the amount of kids that I have seen get 20 years, 30 years, like with no evidence, no cameras. Right. One snitch says one thing about them. Yeah. And he goes, and all we want to do is for the police to obey the law. You look at just last week with that poor boy shot instead of tasered. The work goes on, but I suppose for people out, for everyone out there in America.
Alison Craig uses different language. That's a good point. Not a celebration, a relief.
Yeah.
I think there was that element sort of sweeping round, especially as you heard stories of how in the local sort of area of the courthouse, shops and places were boarding up and the National Guard was being put on alert. Part of you began to worry as they were suggesting that, were they aware of a possible verdict that wasn't going to move that way?
But what I worry about is how are the white supremacists going to feel about this verdict? I mean, don't forget, there's such division in America anyway, isn't there? I mean, I think it was Xander that said this morning, whatever way the verdict goes, there's going to be trouble.
As Avril Butcher says, really couldn't have been anything else. What with the film, so please justice is done. The most
Avril, at points, it looked like, I mean, a couple of days ago, and we were all talking about this at work, we were going, I think he might get off.
Well, there was the suggestion that all police officers know they're being filmed, so that they were almost turning the fact of his culpability being caught on camera as a suggestion that, of course, he'd have known he'd have been caught on camera. I mean, that was a really curious. Can I just say, just watching the last shots, I was watching with a forensic eye Chauvin as they announced the verdict, and as the judge went. The judge did that amazing thing as he goes to each individual juror to confirm it's what they said. Yes, and he was just looking. His eyes were darting all over the place, but his counsel, his solicitor, did you notice, incredibly briskly, matter-of-factly kind of patted him, shook his arm as if to say, don't worry, we're going to do. I tell you what I've got a slight concern about here. They're going to appeal straight away. And I think they'll not only appeal, but they'll appeal along the lines of a fair trial couldn't have been conducted. And I tell you why.
No, he's already dismissed a mistrial. They already asked for that.
No, not a mistrial. I think.
No, but a mistrial.
No, but I think they will appeal on the basis of. I've got a horrible feeling that the Democrat, when the judge cautioned the Democrat about not being able to about muddying the waters. I don't know. I think there's going to be some narrative that develops out of this, which is going to suggest that the jury was intimidated by the prospect of delivering a not guilty verdict. I mean, that's my concern. Someone just said they looked incredibly chipper about it.
Sally Griffin said Chauvin looked creepily calm.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I got more of the sense that he was tranquilised.
I didn't.
Did you
I
see his eyes just darting about?
Karen Gornall agrees with me. Does anyone else think that? Does anyone else think that? I mean, I have a strong opinion on it, and I believe. But I just worry that it felt like there was a cocksureness to the way in which they scooted off that might mean that they feel, don't worry, there's something else.
I don't think so.
Yeah, Reem A.W. found it strange how the lawyer patted him. Yes, I thought he was calm.
But I think he was just being like, never mind, of course we'll appeal it. They'll always say that.
James McBeer agrees.
No.
Ellen believes he was in disbelief. Alison Craig, I think he looked confused as to what had happened.
Yeah.
I mean, Xander homes in on the fentanyl. I mean, this was one of the elements that was talked about by the defence attorney. But once again, I think there was that critical... Was it the guy who did the autopsy who said, yes, he had a perilously high amount of fentanyl in him, but his death would have only been brought about by an aggravated event. Do you remember? And
but listen, when you had one police officer after another saying that it was out of any training that they would get, that for me shuts it down. Because you stepped out of what you were trained to do. You owe complete... I mean, God, we watched it. We watched him squeeze the life out of him over a period of, what was it, 20 minutes
absolutely.
or whatever it was. So, no doubt in my mind, this was the right...
Nicky Bosley, if he lives that long in there, a cop guilty of murdering a black man has no chance of acquiring... Well, that's what I was saying to Nadia. I mean,
this is what we were saying.
How is he going to survive
How
prison?
will he... No, but will he not be put in complete isolation like what's her name is? God, what's her name? What's her name?
Who?
The one that was done for the sex trafficking.
Oh, Ghislaine.
Ghislaine. I mean, she's in a glass box. It's hell. She's begged to go out into the
energy lady, I believe, will be
prison.
separated. I mean, he'll either be protected for sure.
I mean, have you seen what it's like? Did anyone see that Louis Theroux when you went into the prison? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Nah.
Faith Goodman, I'm so relieved that he's been found guilty. I don't think he will survive very long in jail, though. Not that I care about his life. He looked very matter of fact. And what did we think of the fact that
Donnelly says he looked so smug throughout the court case.
That he refused to testify. And the only piece of description as to why he refused to testify I read was that he didn't want to incriminate himself. I mean,
that's interesting. Leanne Turner, I feel like the jurors were under pressure for guilty verdict with the protests. Interesting, because that's what you're alluding to, isn't it?
Yeah,
that they could say they were terrified.
And you've got to be really clear. I've got to be really clear when I say this. I firmly believe he was guilty and this is the right verdict. But my worry is that his defence will spy an opportunity.
Well,
to trot the line, Leanne Turner, of exactly what you're saying. I said to Nadia, you wouldn't want to be, we were waiting for the verdict, you wouldn't want to be anyone on that jury that didn't turn in a guilty verdict.
But in America, things are very different, isn't it? It's because, do you remember the Sarah Everard case? I was so worried when they were talking about him and his wife and showing his house and his car, and I was thinking, oh my God, do you remember when they showed his photo early on? Remember, we were saying, Jesus, this could completely mess up the case. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to be the same in America.
No. Well,
I mean, there was tons of programs about it and everything.
Well, but watch this space. I've got I think the next part of this Wrigley story is going to be the appeal. Obviously, Biden was watching it live from the White House, from his Situation Room. I don't know if he's made a statement. Obviously, there's celebration on the streets and there's relief.
It must be so hard
it must be
for the people that
relief.
knew him.
Yeah.
Because there'll be a part of them that wants to celebrate. But of course, what a hollow celebration because they've lost their loved one, you know.
Absolutely.
But my God, where would they be tonight if it hadn't come in guilty?
Yeah.
What is the thing? Xander, do you know? Do you know why he was done for 3 different types of murder?
Well, because you can be accused of more than one thing.
Yeah, but you can't be manslaughter and second degree.
Yeah, but it's like when you often have sexual assault cases, you can have aggravated assault, you can have battery, and you can have rape. I mean, there are different categories to the actions that result in the same outcome. All 3 things contribute to an outcome, but 3 different crimes are constituent parts of it. Louise Jones, I agree, Mark. They will appeal and use that he didn't get a fair trial through fear. How can anyone deny George was killed? It was out and out murder. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's almost like they had a vested interest, his defence counsel, in this being so public. And I promise you, I hate to be proven right on this, it will be the narrative that develops out of this, for sure. So I think victory today, great news for great swathes of America. Some justice has been felt to have been meted.
Sally Griffin, did the jurors get protection now? I don't think they saw them, did they? They never showed them.
No.
They were just numbered. They weren't.
Lucy Heaney, in America, you can appeal and be released on bail. It's happened recently with an American woman and her father found guilty of killing her Irish husband. They are now free again until trial. Reese Roberts is complex for sure, but a step in the right direction to respect the lives of black people and people of colour, especially the inherent race issues we have in the UK, and reconcile them. Absolutely. Yeah.
The fact that we could even have been close to thinking that the case might have been lost with all that we saw, and like that brilliant line that the prosecution gave at the end, what you saw is what you saw.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of smashed up everything else that the defence had said. We saw it. Yeah. Let's just remember, we actually watched it, and it was one shot. Yeah. And there was nothing that could have happened that we didn't see because we saw it was the whole thing was filmed from beginning to end.
Erin Bullimore says most people accused of murder don't take the stand. It almost never goes well for them, so lawyers generally advise against it.
Yeah, it is quite normal.
Fair point. Yeah.
I'm sure because he's an arrogant fucker by the looks of it. He said, "Let me go on the stand. I want to talk." I bet you anything he did.
Yeah.
And it was his lawyer that said.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, guys. We thought we'd touch base with you and just check in. We'll keep the dialogue going, and obviously any more news, we'll talk about it in Coffee Moaning in the morning.
And guys, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. We often will respond to big news stories like this just off the hoof. So hit the notification bell as well, so that you can be told when we are live. But it's not really about a victory tonight, is it? Because a man lost his life in the most horrific way. But thank God this man was convicted. Thank God. Because there would have been no hope. Yeah. If you could see a film like that and still he could have got off, there would have been no hope.
It would have been, it would have tipped over. So group hug, guys.
Good night, lovelies.
Good night.
Kumbaya.
Stay safe. Stay safe.